To the question you asked, do I think either one of Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson will be without a Super Bowl? I'm going to pass it to Tim first because Tim is the one who said that Josh Allen's championship window never opened. So, Tim, I'll pass it to you and then I'll respond.
Yeah, I don't think either of them get a Super Bowl.
This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not.
Welcome back to the Warner Brothas Podcast. I'm Kyle, joined today by Timmy G. Tim, what's up? And soon we will be joined by my brother Keenan. Keenan will be back. Tim, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Very shortly, we'll have the brothers back.
We will have the WBP back in full effect. The brothers.
Yeah. It's been a minute without Keenan here. So
it seems like a long time. I think it's only been like 2.5 podcasts, maybe 3 podcasts, right? But It seems like a long ass time. But it'll be good to have Keenan back. He says he has stuff to address personally with us, so I'm very excited to see what that may or may not be.
He said he was going to start an internet beef with us live on the podcast tonight.
He did say that. He did say that, which is interesting. I mean, inner podcast beef is interesting, so I can't wait to see what it might be. We've had a lot happen since we just recorded on Friday. Obviously, we had the championship games, AFC, NFC on Sunday, but we also had a Mike McCarthy hiring. We had a Todd Monkin hiring today. I feel like we had one more hiring. And one thing of note, Tim, I meant to mention this to you. I don't know if you've noticed this. Mike McDaniel's actually not officially hired by the Chargers.
He is now.
Is he?
He just took his first press conference today as OC.
Okay.
He came out and he said, I'm not an opening statement guy, so this is my opening statement. And then he's like, I'll open it up to questions. And I was like,
okay, that's a good opening statement right there. That's a good opening statement. I like that. Because I had seen must have been Saturday, he interviewed for someone's OEC position. And everyone was like, hey, didn't he just get hired by the Chargers? And then I looked it up on Wikipedia and it still had him listed as like, a free agent. So, but okay, that's cool that he's officially now a Charger.
The other one we missed was Joe Brady. Promoted.
Joe Brady, yes, that just happened yesterday as well. Joe Brady officially promoted to the head coaching gig of the Buffalo Bills. One that Brandon Petty called and said that would be a good hire. It seems to keep everything stable there, right? They didn't go too far out of the realm. And I believe we talked about Jesse Minter last time, correct, with the Ravens. So we nailed that one. And then the other thing of note, and I'll wait until Keenan arrives to talk about this as well. Bill Belichick not selected as a first ballot Hall of Famer for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is insane. There is reasoning for it, I guess, but I can't wait for Keenan to arrive so we can discuss it properly. In the meantime, Tim, Joe Brady, Todd Monkin, Mike McCarthy. Whichever way you want to start out of those three, whatever one catches your eye the most or does not catch your eye the most, hit me with your thoughts.
I'm going to start with Todd Monkin, and it's going to be kind of tied into Joe Brady. So I had said, I don't know if I said it on the pod or if I just said it talking to us in the group chat, but I was like, the Bills should just promote Joe Brady, because if they don't, they'll probably lose him. He'll go elsewhere.
True.
For being passed over as the guy interviewing. So that made sense to me. The reason why I want to talk about Todd Monkin is because he was chosen over Jim Schwartz. And now Jim Schwartz is probably going to leave. He's already come out and voiced his anger against the decision to hire and that he'll probably not be retained.
Interesting.
Meaning he's leaving.
Because he was under contract still.
He was under contract still, and they said that one thing keeping a lot of these coaches from interviewing even was that the Browns were not letting them bring in an outside hire from a defensive coordinator position. They were going to stick with Jim Schwartz. That was who you got if you decide to take that job. So it's funny that now that they finally hire somebody, it's likely that Schwartz leaves and goes elsewhere. That's just really funny to me. That's very Browns-esque. They kind of shot themselves in the foot. So That is pretty funny, in my opinion. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't get this job because then he could come be the OC in New York, reunite with Harbaugh. I thought that would have been a good fit for Jackson Dart, but now he's there, so that leaves us looking for somebody. But offensively, I think he has a good mind. I think he can work there. The problem is, I said this definitely a couple weeks ago. Whoever they signed as head coach needs like a contract clause that says they're not allowed to fire him after 1 year because he's working with like a dog shit roster offensively.
Oof. Yeah.
Like their best drafted piece broke the hell out of his ankle. So he's not coming back next year.
Yeah.
Jerry Judy's overpaid and underperformed. Like Njoku is on his last legs. Harold Fannin definitely looked good, but if like that's all you got, then I'd be a little worried for sure. And then out of all the QBs Kevin Stefanski has ever coached in Cleveland, Shador Sanders is the only Pro Bowler.
By definition, definition, I don't even understand what. It's interesting because it's like, okay, they have these alternates in case you're in the playoffs. Okay, well,
or
there's
injured,
only two,
yeah,
or injured, correct? And there's only 2 Super Bowl teams left, right? And I get it. Okay, championship weekend just played. Maybe you don't want to go to the Pro Bowl right after you just lost a heartfelt game. Fine, whatever. I feel like there's still, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong here. There's probably 10 other quarterbacks you could get to before you got to Shador Sanders. So I don't really, I'll see this every year where it's like XYZ has just replaced Joe Burrow in the Pro Bowl. And it's like,
it was
okay, what? Yeah, right. It's like, how did we get here? And then we end up saying like Snoop Huntley was a Pro Bowler. And it's like, was he really though? And I get it. Like the Pro Bowl doesn't really mean anything anymore. Never really did. The game itself didn't. But like, if you're at least going to have Pro Bowlers in name, shouldn't they at least be, you know, like qualified? Like start, what did Shador start? Literally like maybe 6 games total? Less than 8.
7.
Sure.
Yeah,
was it 7?
I think it was 7 started. He might have played an 8.
For sure, less than a half a season though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a 7 to 10 in touchdown interception ratio. That is not a Pro Bowl stat line for any QB ever. So
like if anything,
it is really just
like if you're gonna do that, just throw Joe Burrow in, right? Like
it doesn't make sense. It's just like a popularity contest because he got so many votes from social media, right? He's a pretty much like an influencer as well as an NFL player, so he gets a lot of votes for that, and that puts him into the Pro Bowl. It really doesn't make sense because, like you said,
he pretty much is. Influencer is hilarious. That's like when I started calling. Go ahead.
He lives off of Dion. Like, if his dad wasn't Dion, nobody would have known who Shador even is. So
that's probably true. That's probably true.
That's factual. Like he was solid in college, but he would have been like every other solid QB, a 7th round undrafted free agent that didn't get a shot.
So you think he's all right, let's say he's Shador Smith, not Shador Sanders. I get we could have had this conversation last year, but you don't think he's like even a 4th or 5th round pick last year if he just comes out?
No, he was a 5th round pick last year as Shador Sanders.
For sure. And people were talking about collusion and this and that. So I just, you know, because people before that were even talking about friggin' him or Cam Ward, number 1 overall, first quarterback pick, which is obviously crazy. So
I think it was Mel Kiper, I believe.
Yeah.
Like draft day was so bad for him. Like every single time a new team would be on the clock, they'd pan over to him and be like, "Yeah, I think this would be a great spot for just Shador." And then 3 days went by and he still wasn't drafted yet. Just so funny.
Poor Mel.
No, I there's gonna be QBs this year. Like this happens all the time where a QB is on like a power 4 team, but they're like a mid power 4 team and they have good stats, but they don't get drafted. It just happens. He was hyped up because his dad was Dion, and that's the truth. He proved it when he got into the NFL. Like I said, 7 touchdowns to 10 picks. He wasn't great. He had one good game, and that came against the Raiders. So I wouldn't even say it was a good game. He had like a 50% completion percentage, and most of his yards came on 2 screen passes that he did not. You don't like QBs shouldn't be rewarded for a screen pass. That should be like all on the running back or the wide receiver. So
You know what I hate more than the
Yeah.
screen pass? And you'll probably know exactly where I'm going with this, is the goal line. Okay, my guy's in motion. I dump it off, and it's technically a pass just because
That's a pass,
dropped it
yeah.
and didn't hand it. I wish they counted that as a run. I really do wish they
I
counted
agree.
that as a run.
They should do that because if he just doesn't drop it and he just literally hands it out, then it's not a
It's a
pass.
run.
So I
Yeah.
totally agree. At that point, it's not a pass. It kind of reminds me of fucking Stidham from this weekend. I saw that man like 6 times do one of these as a pass,
Oh my goodness.
actually trying to complete a pass, like shovel pass it from his chest. That pissed me off this weekend, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
We will definitely talk about that. The one thing I want to say before we get to Mike McCarthy as well as Joe Brady, you mentioned Al Schwartz, because the last thing I had read, actually, here we go. Here's Keenan. Here's the man.
Kyle, did you get a haircut?
Dramatic return. Yeah, I got a haircut. I was telling Tim, when you get it cut off like this, like especially with the amount of hair I had before, it's kind of like when a poodle or something gets their haircut and you're like, okay, I know that's the same dog, but it doesn't look like the same dog. That's how I feel when I see myself on camera in the mirror. So yeah, I just compared myself to a poodle. Before we reintroduce Keenan, I did want to say, you mentioned Jim Schwartz, and the last thing I saw today before I left for work was that he's still under contract. He could come back to the Browns, but like obviously his services will be, wanted. And you're telling me that he doesn't want to come back, blah, blah, blah. If that's all true and it's like that easy not to retain him, this reinforces my idea I had a couple weeks ago. Like, why don't we see people or teams try to poach coordinators when they have a vacant position? Instead of trying to put someone like Josh McDaniel as a head coach. Like, why isn't someone trying to poach Josh McDaniels from the Patriots for next year to be their OC? I wouldn't want that. He's doing phenomenal things with Drake May, but like, why don't we see more of that? Of like, oh, they're going to throw X amount of money at Josh McDaniel, Mike McDaniel, Cliff Kingsbury, all that. So I don't know why we don't see more of that. And honestly, we don't see hardly any of that. It seems to wait until these guys' contracts are up or they're up for a head coaching position. So I don't understand it. Keenan, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm going to quickly respond to your point, what you just barely said with that last thing. The only thing I can think of would be the fact that if you were trying to poach an OC from one place to another, it would have to be in almost specific circumstances like a Josh McDaniel, because a lot of those positions and a lot of those guys are short-term hires. So having to do that often might be just like the carousel of having to do that, where you're like, oh, like say 3 years back, Ben Johnson, that's a really good guy. Like I want to take it. I want to get that. And you're only going to get 2 years of Ben Johnson because obviously he's going to be up for head coach candidacy here in a couple of years. Only thing I could reason why not to, but you're right, though, in situations where you're like, why not just go better yourself? Like, hey, the Patriots are paying Josh McDaniels, say, $5 million a year. Here's $8 million to come do the same job. Like, I think that's a smart thing to do, because then obviously you're weakening, especially like if you're at the Bills, you're weakening somebody else and then benefiting yourself while doing that too. So I agree with your point. The only thing I can think of would be just, maybe you don't want to do that all the time because you won't get the best of them. But someone like Brian Flores, who might not always get those, I mean, who obviously gets opportunities, but it's not the same kind of thing. Something like that.
Yeah, like a team like Philly right now, they should be someone who's like, they just won a Super Bowl. They didn't have the best season, but they've got a top tier roster. They draft incredibly well. They're one of the best organizations in the league. Why couldn't they just be like, all right, we're going to go get him, right? We didn't get Mike McDaniel. We didn't get Brian Daboll, who just signed with Tennessee. Let's go get, name a coordinator that's got a good reputation. But I wonder if that's a place we will eventually get to in the NFL. But it's interesting that we just don't see it at all. Keenan, what are your thoughts? I'll give you your pick here between Mike McCarthy and Joe Brady. You can take us to whichever coach next.
Okay. I'm going to go Joe Brady. My initial thoughts on Joe Brady were up and down. like I like Joe Brady, and I think he could be a good head coach. Like you obviously don't know, he's a rookie head coach. You don't know what it's going to be like. He could be really good, could be really bad. You really don't have any idea. He's never done it before, so it's hard to have a full like I'm standing over here. He could do this or this, but it just all depends on kind of like what the Bills want to do. It's like I just don't know if firing Sean McDermott and getting Joe Brady, it's like I don't feel like you're getting anything new. Like obviously you're getting a new voice, a new head, but like he's still within the organization. You're just promoting someone from within. So it just doesn't feel exactly like, oh, we're getting a really new regime here. And that means you're just running it back. And if you're going to run it back, why not just keep Sean McDermott? And I know the owner had said after that loss and looking in the locker room, it was like, we just felt like we couldn't run it back. But if you have Joe Brady, aren't you just kind of running it back? So like, that's my thoughts on it. Or I would have liked to go more so outside of the building if that were going to be the case. But I also don't think it's a bad hire. Like they made a horrible decision, because I do think Joe Brady was a good OC. And I think the next step, obviously, let's see if you're a good head coach.
Tim, what you think?
I agree for the most part. As I said before you got here, Keenan, I kind of like the hire because if they decide to go that outside hire, it's very likely that Joe Brady's not their OC anymore.
That's
and that he just
too.
goes elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So to keep that offensive scheme, that offensive connection with Josh Allen, which we have seen worked for the last 4 years, I think he's been there as the OC. I can't remember when they fired.
I think it was 3
like 3
years
years
ago. Like
Okay.
2.5 years ago, because like
Yeah, it was
they were
mid-season.
5-5. Ken Dorsey, they sent
Yep.
him off, and then Joe Brady came in. Yeah, it was 2.5 years ago.
Gotcha. So I agree with them keeping that makes sense, but I do agree with you. If you know you need a new coach because you need a different culture, a winning culture. He's already been the coach. Like, what hasn't he done now that he's going to do in the future? So that's like a confusing thing. It does kind of seem like they have kind of decided we are going to just run it back with pretty much what we got. All we got rid of was the person at the very top. Everybody else stays the same. So I agree there. It could work out. It very well couldn't. I could see this being another like 5-year coaching thing where they just don't ever make it again. And then they're like, after that, Josh Allen's going to be kind of older. So like, it might just, like I said, last pod, I think their Super Bowl window's closed. And I even said that it never actually opened up at one point. So like, I feel like we're just going to get the same old thing with the Bills. It doesn't really matter, especially with Joe Brady. I don't know if it's going to get necessarily better. I think it'll probably just stay the same.
Kyle, I know you're going to answer this point. I obviously talk about it as well. I have a quick question with it that you can answer with. And then, Timmy, I want to hear your thoughts on it too. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, more so you can focus on Josh Allen because we're talking Brady. Do you think one of the two are not ever going to win a Super Bowl? Like at some point.
Let me answer Tim first.
Talk Brady, and then if you want to go that, yeah.
That's I feel like we could do a whole podcast on the question you just asked. So let me answer Tim or respond to actually what you said first before I answer that whole question. Because I feel like we could do a whole pod just on that. So I actually disagree with both of you guys as far as like just running it back, because I don't necessarily think it'll be necessarily the same team or the same look of things, because A, Sean McDermott was an extremely successful head coach, and B, I think if we use that same analogy and say, let's say the Lions fired Dan Campbell last year and let Ben Johnson take over, I don't necessarily think that looks like the same team. You might have some of the similar philosophies offensive-wise, but I don't think that looks like the same exact team. So I think under Brady, it'll look a little different. It's funny because I think I used a basketball analogy for this whole cycle of the whole Sean McDermott thing, where I thought it was short-sighted, much like the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau last year. And you can kind of see it with Mike Brown. Like, that was actually one of the best things they could do was get Mike Brown. He's actually a really good coach. Thing is, though, they didn't actually have a plan when they fired Tom Thibodeau. And I feel like when the Bills fired Sean McDermott, it was kind of late in the window. It was after Harbaugh had already gotten hired. So it wasn't necessarily ideal timing. But to use another basketball analogy, Phil Jackson, he was an assistant coach on Doug Collins' staff when he took over for the Chicago Bulls. 6 championships later, we know what happened. So sometimes your answer is within. And I really do like the fact that they didn't go, Anthony Lynn was one of their the people they were interviewing that we talked about last time. Like the people that they were interviewing that were outside the organization didn't really move the needle. Like Brian Dable, like I think he's a fine coach. However, if you're replacing Sean McDermott with that, I think that's sending the wrong message to your fan base. So Joe Brady's at least keeping the stability. And I don't think necessarily philosophy is why they lost or have been losing these games. I think most of the time, honestly, it's been circumstantial. And I think this specific game in particular against the Broncos, I think a lot of that was on Josh Allen. So yeah. I mean, these were all winnable games. I mean, Keenan, I'm sure we said, at least I think Tim brought this up first, actually. We both think Sean McDermott should be back. But the fact that he's not, and you settle with Joe Brady, I think there could be worse things. So I'm not necessarily mad at the hire.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I just, one of those things where I feel more so what I guess the ownership said they wanted and what kind of happened kind of conflicted. That's more kind of where my mindset went for that. But yeah, no, I don't disagree. I'm fine. I was fine, honestly, either way with Sean McDermott, like if he was gone or if he stayed. And I talked about, this was actually something we got into like a long conversation about this before the season started, was I said John Harbaugh, Sean McDermott. I was mostly talking Sean McDermott at the time. Was like, if they go again and they lose to the Chiefs at this time, is when I said again in the playoffs, like at some point you've got to switch something. Like you can't just keep losing this. And this time it was no Lamar, no Burrow, no Mahomes, and you still you don't even get to the conference championship game, let alone get to a Super Bowl. So I get it. If you would have kept him, you don't looking like, there's 25 better head coaches out there, or even 20 better head coaches out there than Sean McDermott. But at the same time, and the same thing with Baltimore, it was like, how many times are we going to run this thing back the same with a little alteration and a pray for a different result? Like at some point, something's got to change. And if you're not getting rid of Allen and Lamar, the next thing would be to get rid of Harbaugh and Sean McDermott. So. Interesting, though. Very interesting, because it's a risky game you're playing. It's a double-edged sword, because if it doesn't work out and either team misses the playoffs, it's like, I know the Ravens just barely missed the playoffs this year. A lot of that had to do with Lamar's injuries, too. But if they go 7-10, it's like, not sure Sean McDermott or John Harbaugh would have had these rosters at 7-10. So it's a really difficult game you're playing.
Exactly. And that's always my thing when you fire guys like these. And I'm not really sure. I actually didn't see the response really to Joe Brady, which must mean it was positive if I didn't see too much of anything.
It's been pretty, unless Timmy's seen anything different from me, what I've seen has been pretty, good hire. Like, fine with it. Like, he's a good, like, the floor stays pretty much the same in a lot of people's minds as where it was before. Like, perennial playoff contender. And then with Josh Allen, you should have a chance to get to a Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, so if that's the case, if Buffalo fans are happy with it, because it seems like Ravens fans are happy with the Jesse Minter hire, we'll see. The floor is still there, like you said. And if that's the case, then each team should be fine. To the question you asked, do I think either one of Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson will be without a Super Bowl? I'm going to pass it to Tim first, because Tim is the one who said that Josh Allen's championship window never opened. So, Tim, I'll pass it to you, and then I'll respond.
Yeah, I don't think either of them get a Super Bowl. Like I just said, I think in their respective teams right now, maybe if they went to a different organization or something like that, I could see it. But right now, I'm stamping it. If there was a Super Bowl window for Buffalo, it's a closed one. And I don't see Jesse Minter taking Lamar Jackson to a Super Bowl. I wouldn't expect that anymore. They wouldn't be a better chance than with Jim Harbaugh, so no chance. And then the Ravens, just looking at them offensively, they're getting old. Like Lamar is low-key getting old for his play style. We saw that last year. Just running is enough to tweak a hammy and get him out for a month. So I think neither of these guys get a Super Bowl, and they're both top of their game when they were in their prime. They were absolutely two of the best QBs in the league. They just couldn't get over the hump, and they never will. It's unfortunate.
So I'm gonna quickly say something too. Like, I just have a quick question? It's yes or no for this. Do you add Burrow into that conversation as well?
I was going to ask
Burrow,
the same thing.
Burrow, I could see Burrow getting another one.
You get
100%.
to it.
So even
Okay.
though he's the most injury prone out of the three.
Crazy fun fact, Lamar and Burrow, including the playoffs over the last 4 years, have missed the same amount of games. Weird, because if it doesn't feel the same. It's a weird fact. They've played Lamar and Burrow just because of the way Lamar has missed, because in 22, when the Bengals got to the same Super Bowl, they obviously played Tyler Huntley because Lamar sat out for the rest of the season waiting for a new contract. And so it's weird, but Lamar's been not, it doesn't feel as injury prone, but Lamar's injuries just feel like they put and it always seems like there's something nagging with Burrow. With Lamar, just something will pop up and it just is weird. But yeah.
Actually, I think it's more nagging with Lamar. And
nagging with Lamar, and then with Burrow it pops up. I said that backwards because wait, Burrow's hand hurts. Wait, what happened to Burrow? Things. It
always seems season ending with Burrow. It always seems very final whenever he gets injured.
Burrow's toe fell off.
It's wait, what? And then with Lamar, it's miss practice again with a toe, miss practice again with a hammy. He's sick.
Rolled his ankle driving to work this morning.
Right.
He's out 8 to 10 weeks.
Tried to hit the gas pedal, hit the brake, and cranked it. It's just one of those things.
To answer this question, though, if you're giving me all three of Burrow, Allen, and Lamar, it doesn't seem likely that all three get one. And when you put it to 2 out of 3, that even also kind of seems less likely. I'm confident that at least 2 out of the 3 will, though. The only thing that puts a damper on this, as we just mentioned, that Joe Burrow and Lamar are injury prone. Josh Allen's style of play, along with Lamar's, lends to injuries, right? Yes. So you can almost kind of knock off 2 years off Josh Allen. I say that because that happened to Cam.
He's been an anomaly. So far.
He's kind of been an anomaly, but I also feel like if he does end up being a pocket quarterback, he would be fine. Which we saw that happen to Ben Roethlisberger. Once Ben Roethlisberger couldn't move anymore, he still actually had an arm. He still had a few good seasons past his mobile peak where he could still sling it from the pocket. And he wasn't obviously as dynamic as Josh Allen even. So he might be okay. And even Lamar might be okay once he loses his speed. He's okay from the pocket too. Here's the thing. Organizationally, Lamar's always going to be there. They continuously have built rosters previously before Lamar Jackson and throughout Lamar Jackson's career. So he's always going to have the roster there. It's going to be a matter if he stays with Baltimore. Josh Allen, seems like they're always going to be in the mix, especially if they at least if he's near Sean McDermott's level and they can just win games. If he's, even Zach Taylor, apparently the Bills should be okay. So they're always going to be in the mix. And as we've seen literally every week of the season, anything can happen. So, am I going to be surprised next year if either one of the Bills or the Ravens are playing on Championship Sunday? Absolutely not. I actually think as quarterbacks, I think all three of them, including Burrow, are trending better than Patrick Mahomes right now, just as quarterbacks. So I think they're always going to be in the mix. I mean, if we go back to Brady's era, Brady played in the AFC Championship game for 9 or 10 straight years.
It was 8 straight, and he played in 15 of them, I want to say.
13, so even with that, we had Brady, Manning, Breeze, technically Stafford, if you want to count the Tampa years, right? Rodgers, and both Peyton and Eli, and Roethlisberger, every one of them throughout Brady's career, basically every quarterback of note, not named Phillip Rivers or Cam Newton that came through, maybe a Matt Ryan, every other quarterback of note got one. So it wouldn't be shocking to see Lamar or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, to me, win one. I think at least 2 out of the 3 get one, and maybe one gets the short end of the stick. And I think that will be more related to injury than either one of the 3 maybe not showing up in a big game.
So, for me, it's a little tough because I think one of the 3 will for sure get one, and I think 2 of the 3 will at least get to one. I couldn't tell you which of. I mean, and this is including not including Burrow's already getting to one. Timmy, say what you're going to say before I go. I knew you want to say something.
that was exactly what I was going to say was 2 out of the 3 getting a Super Bowl is way different than just 2 out of 3 getting to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They got to get there first before they can win it.
Yes.
So I could very well see them, getting there, and then just something goes wrong and they don't end up winning it. And then they're like, that puts an end to that conversation right there. So I would definitely lean, if I had to rank it, I think I would go Burrow, Allen, Lamar on chances to get a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And I see it's hard to think because like when you go if you just go through the league just right now, like is this the only Super Bowl Drake May will ever make? I hope not, but like I don't think so. I mean, it could be, which is what
could be Burrow.
Happened to Burrow too, like so far. So like that's why this one's like going into the playoffs. I was like, man, I understand this team is young, but this is an opportunity that you might not get. So like, please capitalize. And if you lose in the big game, I get it, but at least we got there and we didn't get tripped up. We can talk about that a little bit more later. But like, is this the only one Drake May will ever get to? Is Patrick Mahomes done getting to one? Is he just not going to get it anymore? Like, I would bet Patrick Mahomes is going to get to at least 1 or 2 more. Like, I think he's very good. Then you have your quarterbacks like, can Herbert turn it around? Can Bo Nix? Obviously, Bo Nix could have got to 1 this year if he didn't get hurt. Like, we don't know how that game goes. Trevor Lawrence, has he taken the next step? Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, is he ever going to, like, and this is for them winning. Shador, of course. Pro Bowl Shador, of course. Could Jared Goff, could Jordan Love, and like these are all the quarterbacks that are now. And then you have the people like Ken Fernando Mendoza. You don't know what's going to go on in Vegas when he goes there. Should go there at least. And then Arch, and then quarterback who's 10 years old right now or 12 years old right now, whatever. Like, what if he in 10 years, like, you know? So it's just kind of one of those things that are like, these ones, like, not everyone's getting one. Because, like, it's just not everyone's getting one. It's like when you're saying a top 10 list, 17 people in your top 10. Like, no, it only can actually be 10 people. So it's hard to think that all of them will. But realistically, if you would have told me back in 21, like, hey, Lamar, Allen, Burrow, none of them are going to win one, I'd be like, man, that's crazy. But again, Aaron Rodgers got to 1. He won 1. He never got back. 4-time MVP. He was sensational. Never even got to 1 again. So you never know.
It's crazy because one of my questions, or I don't know how, maybe I posed the question, or I don't know how we got on the topic, but I think I said something to the effect that, like, it seems like now or never for Josh Allen, right? I said, like, for some reason I threw the fact that they're not going to be playing at their current stadium anymore. They're going to be moving into a dome, and we'd said it multiple times this year. Everything's lined up for them. And then things lined up even more for them, and they still couldn't get there. And like we just said, could be a demotion at head coach. Like, it's probably highly likely that he's even not as good as Sean McDermott, right? Like, they're probably not going to win 13 games a year. The good luck that they have is that the Jets and Dolphins probably are not going to be good for the foreseeable future. So he has that going for him. But something just told me, like, before the year, like, if Josh Allen doesn't get it done, just the way things go with Buffalo, I'm not saying they're going to have a string of bad luck. I'm not saying that, because Lord knows they already have it. But I am saying, like, man, if you couldn't get it done this year, and again, it's all circumstantial, like, things happen, whatever. But when is it going to happen? You know what I mean? That's why I kind of almost give more credence to Lamar or Joe Burrow coming in next year with, what is it? Not a last place schedule, but a third place schedule in the AFC North next year.
And so, I mean, Burrow, there's a chance he could go somewhere. Allen, if he was to go somewhere, to me would be like so late in the career, because like he would have to demand a trade and force out, and that's just not his personality. So like they're not getting rid of him. Like there's just no way. Like where in Cincinnati, it's a situation where like at some point it could get a little dicey, and maybe you do move on from Joe Burrow. Maybe one more injury, and you could be like, I don't know. So.
And it could happen to where, I mean, we talk about Jim Schwartz. What if Buffalo gets Jim Schwartz, and then all of a sudden that defense is something like of a force? You know what I mean? Because that offense, it really doesn't matter who you have at receiver and tight end. Josh Allen's going to make it happen. We've seen that. Now it's a matter, now they're going to have a dome where it's going to be beneficial. I mean, this is a team with a real home field advantage, and domes actually tend to get louder. Like, New Orleans is one of the loudest places in the league. So maybe they still have a home field advantage. But I don't know. It seems like if you look at quarterback stats and domes, like they go up. So it seems like that's an advantage now for opposing quarterbacks. If it's still loud, which we expect it to be, if it's even going to be loud times 2, then maybe. But it seems like they're going to get into a lot more shootouts at home, regardless of what that defense looks like, because you're going to basically be playing arena football. So I can't wait. The Bills are going to be one of the teams I can't wait to watch next year when you couple in the dome, the new coach, Josh Allen on another championship surge. So, yeah, I can't wait.
Sure. And then Mike McCarthy.
Yes, Mike McCarthy. Yeah, we spent all kinds of time on the Bills and Joe Brady.
I asked a question about it, so yeah.
That's true.
Solid, fine. It's because Tomlin, like, it seemed like Tomlin also was on board with leaving. Like, you didn't fire Tomlin to get McCarthy. You can be a little bit more accepting of it. Because obviously, like, going from Tomlin to McCarthy, it's like, okay, that's not great. But, like, McCarthy's a solid head coach. It's just also where, is he going to be coaching until, like, he's 80? I know Steelers don't love going through head coaches. So, like, is he going to be there until he's 80? But he's a fine coach. I feel like they're just in a situation where it's just a lesser version of Tomlin in the sense of they won't ever be bad, but I don't know what the ceiling is again. So, like, that's just kind of where I thought my thoughts went with it, where it was like, okay, that's the floor is, it's not, I don't feel like he's like a 3-14 type of coach floor. Like, he naturally is a good enough coach where you're like, be 7-10. It might not be always a winning season like Tomlin, but like 7-10 for the most part. But it just, I don't know how much it elevates them past where they were going to go now. And obviously, I mean, I don't know if this was another thing too, where like maybe McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers, he comes back now. Like, it kind of, so I just feel like the Steelers are going to be kind of in the same spot because I don't feel like there's a lot of exciting new, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think I said before the show that at best this is a lateral move, and I wouldn't rate it as a lateral move. I would say that this is a little bit of a downgrade. I hear people going like completely back and forth. Like from social media, all the fan base pages that I've seen post about it and go viral have been, we're in hell. Like, this is going to be the worst hire ever. I've already seen like potential hot seat candidates, Mike McCarthy, eliminated from the playoffs next year, Mike McCarthy and the Steelers. Like, I've seen all the memes about it already. So they definitely don't like it. Some fans are like okay with it, and for whatever reason, their justification of it is, oh, well, he's from Pittsburgh. Okay, I don't know how that makes you a good football coach, but all right, we'll take it, I guess. That's kind of just copium for him. But I don't think it's going to work out. The biggest thing is, like, I think of Mike McCarthy as an offensive-minded coach. That's kind of what he's been. When you look at the years, the last few years in Green Bay and then the last few years in Dallas, it just got bad towards the end. He's taking over an old team that really doesn't have much talent here. It's DK Metcalf. Jalen Warren looked good. I don't know if Kenneth Gainwell's even there next year. And when Kenneth Gainwell has the most receptions on the team, that's an issue from an offensive scheme standpoint. So I'm worried a little bit. It could go terribly wrong.
This was probably my least favorite hiring out of the cycle, especially from the major teams. It is a lateral move. It's weird because, Tim, as you said, like, Steelers are mostly known for like their defensive coaches not being an offensive team. And they hire a complete offensive coach. Fine. You hire an older coach. I didn't really understand it because, like Keenan said, Tomlin stepped down more than it was a firing. Because I think next year would have been his last year on the deal. So, all right, let's say like everything would have been clean next year, like the way they originally planned. Let's say they part ways next year. I can't help but think they would have went with like one of the youngest coaches available and gone for a complete rebuild. Okay, you get a get out of jail free card and get that a year earlier, and your choice is Mike McCarthy, who's an established coach, and very well probably could do very well with this team, depending on how they draft and who's their quarterback and whatever we see. I just don't understand it for a team that has, again, had 3 coaches in like 60 years, whatever the hell the stat is. Why wouldn't you go with a young guy? Famously with Mike Tomlin, he wasn't even like the number one option people were thinking about. This guy was a defensive back coach for, I think, the Vikings. And they interview him, and he blows them away, and that's the hire. And he was in his 30s at the time, I believe.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you go after a 30-year-old or 40-year-old head coach here? Try to build him up and, have this guy for 2 decades. Mike McCarthy is a bridge quarterback, or excuse me, a bridge coach for a situation that doesn't need any sort of bridge. So I don't really understand it at all. I've hated all the memes I've seen of like Mike McCarthy and Mike Tomlin being the same person, because that's not really true. Mike Tomlin's teams always just overachieve. Mike McCarthy got 3 straight 12-5s out of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, of course they didn't get to the conference championship game and obviously not the Super Bowl, but 12-5 is nothing to sneeze at in the NFL. Like, I can't understand why Mike McCarthy didn't get hired by the Giants. I mean, obviously they got Harbaugh, but Giants, Browns, Titans, one of those teams, why weren't they all over Mike McCarthy in this case is what I can't understand. Just seems...
I would have rather them there. Like, I feel like a team that's already got themselves semi-established, like the Steelers do, like the organization's established, and like I feel like Mike McCarthy being there doesn't really add a lot. And I agree with you. I think you want someone who can grow with you more. Yeah, you want someone who can grow with you more. The Titans, who are like a dysfunctional kind of like McCarthy's going to reel that in and make it at least an organization that's like functional. So like I would have looked there if I was going to do something, unless if I was going to find something there. So that's kind of the situation. But yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like a Jeff Hafley, who was someone like highly touted DC out of Green Bay, who now is in Miami. But like he would have been an option for the Steelers. He's 46 years old, young, energetic, very good defensive mind. A guy like that who could be in your organization for 20 years. You could grow with him, and you would allow the defense is going to still be really good, and you could trade off some of these defensive pieces because he's really good with personnel. So I don't know. Those are the type of guys I would have thought for the Steelers job over a McCarthy, in my personal opinion.
Super weird hire, and it might benefit them. It might, to give credence to the memes, maybe he does, get this team winning enough, 10 wins to where they are in the playoffs, but because of what's drafted around them, or, we don't even know who the OC is yet, but I can't help but think this is a drastically different looking team, even with Aaron Rodgers. Just stylistically, I think it'll be a different team. We could talk, and we will talk Steelers a bunch once we get to the offseason. I tell you what, let's end this podcast, and we'll get a part 2 up. We've been doing that lately, and that seems to work really well. We're about 40 minutes in here. Tim, what you got?
Keenan, do you have any comments on Todd Monkin to the Browns? We talked about that before you got here.
Interesting. It's one of those ones where I feel it's a little coming off of Kevin Stefanski going to that. I don't know. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'm kind of indifferent on it. I'm not gonna lie. So,
I heard a good question for one podcast I was listening to. If the Browns had never signed Kevin Stefanski, would he have even interviewed for the Cleveland Browns opening gig if he was like a candidate? And I honestly don't think he would have.
Monkin?
I really don't. I think no, Kevin Stefanski, after he left.
So you're saying if he was a free agent in this cycle,
if he was a free agent and Cleveland had the opening, would he have been like, yeah, let me even interview? Because like this seems like a downgrade to me to go to Monkin here.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't even think Stefanski would have like viewed that as like a highly like desirable job to go to. At least when he got hired there, like they had picks and they had upward momentum.
If Stefanski took the job, I think it's because 6 of the other jobs were already taken. Like if you put him back on the market and Cleveland was one of the options, I think it's like, man, Harbaugh's in New York, Minter's in Baltimore, they got McCarthy in Pittsburgh, them are the Raiders, and I still think he would have been like, At least I get Mendoza, Genty, Powers, Crosby. Like, I think he would have been gone to like the Raiders before they're in a better situation. Like, I think it might have been one of his last 3 choices, to be honest with you.
I actually didn't say much about Monkin at the top of the podcast. This is very much anti-analytical and anti-maybe ball-knowing. There's a big part of me that when it comes to quarterbacks and when it comes to head coaches, I judge it by their names. Todd Monkin does not seem like a successful head coaching name, so like I'm expecting the worst. Even when he was an OC, I'm like, don't really love it. Who's the one that's under Jim Harbaugh that used to be for John Harbaugh? He was Greg Roman. That's another one where I'm like, because of the name, I don't know. Matt Canada was another one. Tim famously hated Matt Canada. It just doesn't sound like a good football coach name. So Todd Monkin, I'm expecting a lot of generic stuff as a head coach. I picture the Browns being like a 7-10 team consistently. Maybe not a trash team. This isn't Freddie Kitchens, but I can picture 7-10 judging by the name. And that's kind of how I judge some QBs. Like Fernando Mendoza, that's a good QB name. It's a good QB name, so we could get some good stuff out of
Jackson Dart had promise. Jackson Dart.
That can go either way, Jackson Dart. That can either be...
do you like the fact that it's an X, or do you wish it was just CK for Jackson? Like that's where you're like, okay, maybe not. But like Jackson Dart, like to me, I like that quarterback name. So like I'm giving him an extra year unless he's horrendous because of the name alone. I'm actually with you 100% on that. It's low key something that people probably don't do, but I'm like Josh Rosen.
Like Nathan Peterman was never going to be a great.
Yeah, Nathan Peterman was never going to be good. Like that was never going to be baby alert.
Lamar Jackson. Oh, we got Letty on the podcast. What up? Letty's making her first appearance. Shouts
hopefully
to Violet.
She's in a good mood, so hopefully she stays quiet. But I got her for a couple minutes.
Bless you. Bless you.
She's sneezing at the Todd Monkin hire. She really likes the John Harbaugh hire, but not a big fan of the Todd Monkin hire.
Goodness gracious. I love it.
While we have Violet here, and before we get to our next episode, this has been, Keenan, I want to throw this especially at you. This has been one of my grand ideas that I really want to see before I enter my next life. I would love to see a football coach, right? Gets fired. He's a free agent. No one's really hired him, but he's a big, like someone like Mike Tomlin, right? Let's say Mike Tomlin is available this time next. Let's say he's available during the summer, right? He hasn't been hired in the NFL. He's doing TV, but he's a free agent. The Knicks job becomes available. The Chicago Bulls become available. Tomlin's the head coach, but we get an OC and a DC in the NBA, and he's just there to motivate the team. He's just there because you got to figure you can't tell me Mike Tomlin doesn't know the basics of basketball, right? And he already knows a professional locker room, right? You can't tell me that he can't coach the basics and do the motivation that you need in the NBA. And then you can have the offense and defense coordinators, your assistants, do like the heavy lifting as far as like the ins and outs of the NBA. I think it could happen. As far as like success, yeah. I think that could happen.
Do you also in leaning into your point, do you also think that over from January 28th to now to the summer you couldn't learn? Like you think you couldn't just like hit the books and like learn a lot about it and study Phil Jackson? I'm pretty sure Mike Tomlin calls Phil Jackson. He'll pick up the phone. Hey, so what worked for you? You got a couple chips. What worked for you? Hey, Steve Kerr, what works for you in Golden State? Pretty sure they take the phone call. So I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I don't hate that theory. Also,
and I think someone specifically, Mike Tomlin, who's like a motivational coach.
It would have to be Dan Campbell. Would be another one where you're like,
Dan Campbell could do it.
You're like, okay.
Gab getting a cameo too. We got Gab and Violet. We got the whole Gray family. What up, Gab? Good seeing Violet. That was a grade A appearance by
grade
Violet.
A appearance, and I do want to say this on the back half here because I hadn't said it yet, and we'll say it on part 2. Happy birthday, Kyle.
Thank you.
Happy
birthday, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Kyle.
We're a couple hours early, but yes, happy
when this comes out, it'll be the
29th.
So happy birthday, Kyle.
Tim, I realized, by the way, we had dinner at 10 Railroad earlier. family and friends. I realized I'm like, I should have invited Tim earlier. Like, it would have been right there for him. I didn't know if you were out of work.
Down.
I should have invited you. I didn't even think of it until I got home. I'm like,
no worries.
Should have invited him. Food was great too.
I could hit 10 railroad with a baseball. I'm
That's true. That is
So-
true. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. I feel like I want to go somewhere with the whole NBA NFL point. I feel who's gonna have an opening at the end of this year, like for sure, or who's on the
In
hot
the
seat in
NBA?
the NBA? Yeah, in the NBA.
You know
maybe
what?
Maybe the Pelicans.
Put them on the bottom going up. Put them in Washington.
Yeah.
Wizards. Make them a real. Put some culture in there.
Why not?
Hey, I actually wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate that.
Keen, to further this point, I never realized this when I first started watching basketball. The head coach of the, do you know who the head coach of the Pacers was when I like very first started watching basketball was? NBA legend, Larry Bird.
Oh, it was Bird. Yes, it
Bird
was
coached
Bird.
for 2 seasons, and I like, I'm young. I don't know shit about the league at that point. So I'm like, oh, cool. Larry Bird, he's a legend. What I didn't realize until later on, like listening about podcasts and hearing about his tenure there, they said he had Rick Carlisle was on staff, and then there was another high-profile assistant coach that they said was coordinators, and Larry Bird was essentially just like giving game to the young guys, motivating, but he didn't do like the X's and O's shit. Like that was all Rick Carlisle. And that's an NBA legend who knows like as much as you could possibly know about basketball. And he was even doing like what I would expect Mike Tomlin to do. So if Larry Bird can do that, and just from what I've seen of Larry Bird, I can't imagine he's much of a motivator compared to Mike Tomlin. Why? No. Again, just get me Mike Tomlin on the Knicks, or like Tim said, get him on the Washington Wizards. I don't care. Keen, sign us out, and then we'll move on to part 2.
Warner Brothas Podcast, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all at Warner Brothas Podcast. It's good to be back. It's good to be here. Thank you guys for holding it down while I've been on this move. Everyone who sees a different background and they didn't know, I'm in a new place. I got a new house. I got a house. So
congrats.
Great. I appreciate it. Warner Brothas Podcast. So TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Appreciate all of you guys. We'll be seeing you guys again very soon.